بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه، والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد. Okay, today I'm going to talk about reverts and the sihr of divorce. So this is basically a new series, say 3 or 4 videos, where I talk about how reverts and the sihr of divorce and how it affects them, basically. Today we're going to talk about, in part 1, we're going to talk about black brothers, and how sihr of divorce affects them. Now, if you were waiting or expecting the next upload to be why your Ruqya has been cured, why your Ruqya cure has been delayed, part 2, I'm sorry. Hopefully that will be come up in the next few days, inshallah ta'ala. This one, I thought I've already prepared this talk, and I've been wanting to do this for some time. So I actually remember the particular black revert brother who I know, and I thought, you know what, I better put this thing out because I know that case, and it's a very sad case. But sadly, that brother got divorced. Terrible case. And I thought I better give some. And I mean, I haven't got proof that was a case of sihr, but when I look at all the symptoms and look at all of what happened in that case, I believe it to be the sihr of divorce. But sadly, a lot of black brothers, they don't know anything about that. So, and they certainly don't do diagnosis, or don't believe it's permissible, or they don't know anything about it. And cases like that, you know, end up in divorce, sadly. Yeah, so I thought, I remember that case, and I said, you know what, I mean, I've already prepared that talk, so let me do that one, and then inshallah ta'ala, in the next few days, I will do the other one. I'll do the one which most of you probably were waiting for, you know, why your Ruqya cure has been delayed, part 2, doing a thorough diagnosis, inshallah ta'ala, how to do a thorough diagnosis. Before I forget, I just remembered I had a case yesterday where I actually did a thorough diagnosis on a brother, actually a relative, so I could use his as a piece of evidence, really, basically, because what I did there, you know, obviously it's a relative, so I can make sure alhamdulillah, he wasn't sinning. I mean, I know everything about him. I know everything about his case because he's a relative. And what I did there, it was amazing. We did a thorough diagnosis. We did the diagnosis, and we worked out that he got all of the sihr from some music that from music that somebody sent him. So he listened to the music, got the sihr. We did a thorough diagnosis. All of the sihr, all of the jinn, all of the waswas conditioning. These are the 3 diseases he was only suffering from. So he was only suffering from sihr, jinn from the sihr, and waswas conditioning. So and he reacted to those 3, and there was nothing else. And when we found out that all of the sihr had come from the music, so that was the important information he needed. You see, don't listen to music, you know. Also, he needed to know that the other important information that he needed, which helped him get, that's why I believe helped him get the cure. He was always worried. Actually, he just came out recently out of mental hospital, and the doctor there, Muslim doctor, one of the Muslim doctors there, said to him, your case, the brother first of all said to the doctor, you know, my case, I think it's got to do with jinn as well, you know, it's not only bipolarism or whatever. And the doctor, Muslim doctor, says to him, no, yes, it could be jinn, but you've got mental health issues, and you think he diagnosed him with bipolarism and schizophrenia as well. You know, so the brother was a bit worried. So, you know, Said, maybe I've got, maybe there is something else I've got. It's not only just jinn causing my problems. I said, okay. So we did a diagnosis, and we confirmed through specific Ruqya diagnosis that all of the problems that he was diagnosed with was caused by basically the jinn and him listening to that music, basically. I mean, all of the things the doctors diagnosed, I mean, all the bipolarism symptoms and the schizophrenia symptoms, they were all caused by the sihr from the music, the jinn from that sihr, and the waswas conditioning. See, once we did those 2 diagnoses, and so we know we've done that, then within half an hour he got the cure. I was quite shocked, you see, and I only did part 1 treatments with him. So subhanallah, so it was just part 1. I didn't even get to do part 2. Just did part 1. Alhamdulillah, he got the cure. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Yeah. So Dave, we'll talk about that later, inshallah ta'ala. Let's just get on to what we're talking about today, which is reverts and the sihr of divorce, black brothers. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do, inshallah ta'ala, part 1 will be black brothers. Hopefully part 2 will be white sisters, and then black sisters, and then I'll do white brothers. And I think if I add anything else after that, then we might do that. But let's just deal with black brothers. The reason we're starting with black brothers, I myself am black, and I had the sihr of divorce. That's one of the reasons. But the main reason is because I believe that the black brothers are probably the worst affected by this. They are the ones who are worst affected by the sihr of divorce. But sadly, a lot of them don't know it. After them, probably be the white sisters. Probably be the white revert sisters. Now, when the black brothers embrace Islam, sadly, nobody really tells them, and this is generally for all reverts, I believe. Nobody really tells them about the sihr of divorce and how it can affect your marriage. Nobody really explains that how serious this issue is, really. Even though subhanAllah, it's mentioned in the Quran quite clearly, Surah Baqarah ayah 102. It's there. The sihr of divorce is there, but sadly, it's just not on the radar for a lot of brothers and sisters when they get married, or they're seeking to get married. And one of the reasons I believe that to be is that when they hear things like sihr and evil eye, and they think it's probably all to do with superstitions, and you're being superstitious. We don't believe any of these sort of things. This is all rubbish, old wives' tales. It's not true, any of these sort of things. And a lot of Muslims actually, when they start practicing as well, who are not reverts, they have the same sort of ideas as well, that these things are not real, it's not true, old wives' tales, it's just old stories. It's not real. These things don't exist. They how can they affect marriage, and how can this happen? No, it's not true. They don't believe these things, you see. Which is quite sad. So and another thing which they don't know as well when they become Muslim, or when they think seeking marriage, is the how actually waswas works. So how does a shaitan actually do waswas? How does it actually work? And what is it? How does it happen? Nobody really goes into any go into detail about that. That the jinn inside you can actually, when they go inside you, and this is even the Quran, when they're inside you, they can generate feelings inside you. They can actually read your mind. Yes, many people think, that's not possible. Only Allah knows what's in my mind. No, the jinn know what's in your mind. It's nothing to do with the unseen. I remember one person saying to me, no, it's only Allah knows what's in your mind. I said, what do you mean only Allah knows? Yes, Allah knows everything. But you know what you're thinking of. So you're thinking of something haram, or you're thinking of something. Yes, Allah knows that as well. Yes, Allah knows what you're thinking about. Is it shirk that I know that Allah knows? So I remember one person getting, no, this shirk to say that. I said, it's not shirk. How is that shirk? You see, that you say that the jinn know what you're thinking. We know that the jinn know what you're thinking. I know what I'm thinking. Have I done shirk to know what I'm thinking? This is not shirk. You see? So we know from experience. And I've put a fatwa of Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah and Ibn Taymiyyah, actually. I think it's from Islam QA. It's in my waswas article, which I put the link to the article in the description, because I think that article is very important, because a lot of people don't know anything about waswas. In fact, if I had some of this information before I got married, it would have helped me a lot. You see, it would have helped me a lot. So what these jinns can do, they can read your mind, so they know what's going on. They know what you're thinking. We've seen this from experience, and I've dealt with that, so it's quite shocking. I actually believe, first of all, that the jinn can't read my mind. I mustn't manifest or mustn't say anything what I want to do. So I just keep everything in my head, and the jinns won't know what I want to do. And I realized, just from trial and error, well, you know what, this thing knows what I'm thinking. Because I'll make plans to do certain things, and then I start getting waswas attack on it. Like I want to pray tahajjud, I'm getting attacked. I'll pray tahajjud later and things like this. Or I've not even expressed it with my tongue. And then I want to pay some sadaqah or do something khair. I realized that I'm getting waswas for that particular. I said, man, the only thing. And then I'll go back to that fatwa and say, what they said here, Sheikh bin Baz and Ibn Taymiyyah, they're right. This thing can really read your mind. And then from other experience, from other patients, dealing with other patients, they agreed with me as well. Or when they talked to all the patients who were suffering from jinn possession, they said, yeah, the jinns they knew what we're reading. In fact, I had some patients who, when they're ill and that, they're actually communicating with the jinn inside their heads. So sometimes they've got a disability, the jinn's taking control of their mouth, and they can't even move their mouth. And then they start having a conversation with the jinn inside their head. So they might say to the jinn, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. And the jinns might say to him, we're not going to leave you alone. We're going to kill you. And then he might reply in his head, like, no, Allah's going to kill you. Allah's going to kill you. And the jinn are replying back to him. So he's having this sort of conversation back and forth with the jinn. Because they controlled his mouth, he can't speak or anything like this. So subhanAllah. So we know from experience, many people deny this, we know from experience that they can read your mind. That is very important information, because it will help you, protect you from falling into sin with these jinn. When you think that they don't know what you want to do. No, they know what you want to do. They're there. That's why it's very difficult to deal with waswas sometimes, if you don't, especially if you don't know that fact. You see. So the jinns inside you, and sadly a lot of the revert brothers, they don't know this information. That they generate these feelings inside you and emotions. They can generate these feelings and emotions inside you. And I remember once. When I had the SIHR of divorce, I was just angry. I think I mentioned this in the article. Angry, I don't know why I'm angry. Angry. It was all coming from the jinn. Jinn just putting this anger inside me and generate. I didn't even know why I was angry. You see, so they can generate feelings and emotions inside you. And the worst kind of waswas they can do to you is what I call an impersonating whisper. Meaning they speak to you as if you're speaking to yourself. So you'll hear some crazy thoughts and you think it's yourself. And I remember having some thoughts like, you'll hear a voice saying, I hate Allah. And, said, and you think it's yourself. And I remember many times I used to fall for that. I said, was that me? And you would think, and sometimes I would take the shahada again, because I think I've left Islam. I would take the shahada because I didn't know anything about waswas. I didn't know the jinn can do this, pretend to be me inside my head, and I didn't know this. So only afterwards, from experience of I realized this is all just the jinn playing around. You see, and I call that impersonating whisper. It's the worst type of waswas actually to get from the jinn. When they start making you think like this, making you think that you've got that you've actually done kufr, and that's what they basically want. You see, they want you to believe these things. But the good thing, what you can do there, and I told you how you deal with that, is basically. The very fact that you hate it is a sign that you didn't agree with it. That's it. That's the evidence to show you that it's not you, because you hate it. If you hear that word, I hate Allah, that's not me. I don't hate Allah. The very fact that you hate it is a sign that it's not from you, basically. Dave. So the poor brothers, the poor black brothers, reverts, they don't know too much about that topic. Waswas. Alhamdulillah, they good knowledge on Tawheed. The brothers, alhamdulillah, they learn that. They know that well. Alhamdulillah, in general, they know that well. Tawheed, they know that well. But the issue is the waswas and how it works. They don't know too much about that topic. So my advice to the brothers would be to read my article, Waswas from the Possessing Jinn. I'll put a link in the description to this video, inshallah ta'ala. Dave, let's move on to how would a SIHR or witch do SIHR of divorce on a black man. Now the SIHR will be coming from the in-laws usually, or they might go to a SIHR to do the SIHR, but in most cases I've dealt with where it comes from the mother-in-law. Actually, it's the mother-in-law who's busy here and does this, and we have to be frank here. It's just racism. They don't want their daughter marrying a black man. They will kind of see it as like dishonoring the family, humiliation. How can our daughter marry a black man? Yes, clear racism. No other reason, just because it's black. That's it. And you're not only going to get this from Pakistani families, Bangladeshi families, Turkish families, Albanian families, Arab families. You're even going to get this from black families like Somalis, my own people. I'm Somali, I know. They will do this. You might find it's the evil people amongst all of these nations. And we have to make that clear. So you don't make a blanket, all of the Pakistanis are racist. No, it's not like that. I'm married to a Pakistani and her family's fine. No problems from that. So yes, so it's, don't go down that route. We have to be careful of extremism. But that's one of the things the sihr actually does, which I'm going to get to. I've seen it makes the brothers very, it becomes nationalistic. Some of them go over extreme. The sihr has made them like following that sort of what was it, that Nation of Islam ideology kind of thing. The white man is the devil and things like this. They go to another extreme, sadly. So we have to be careful and not think, oh, this is all Pakistanis, all Somalis, all Bangladeshis, all Arabs, all racist, they're all nasty. No, it's just the evil ones amongst them. That's what I'm talking about here. So what you're going to get, okay, is going to be sihr usually from the mother-in-law. Okay, she doesn't want her daughter marrying a black man. Okay, that's what it is basically. Okay. So, the type of sihr they would do, okay, because remember they have to get their daughter to divorce you, all right, and they might even put sihr on the daughter just to make it be easier for them. That's how they will try and do that as well. So what they do, they'll give you some sort of sihr which amplifies, is that the best way to say, your stereotypical masculine sort of traits in of what people have of a black man, what they think of a black man, So for instance, they'll increase the libido of the man. So the sihr that they would do, you'll find that his libido will increase. So the jinn inside him gives it waswas and increases the brother's libido. So his sex drive increases. Okay, just like we can do sihr to give you make you impotent, basically. They give you that. That's possible. But what they would do here, that's not good for them. That's not good for them. They do that. They want to make you look like basically the stereotype of a black man, basically, who's just interested in sex. That's all a black man is interested in, like an animal. That's what they want to turn you into, basically. You see, so you end up becoming. They try to turn you into something where the man is just thinking of sex all the time, basically. All right. So they've increased the libido of the man. Okay, and so much so that even his wife cannot satisfy him. You see. And then what will happen there is that the brother starts to want, maybe I've got to seek a second wife, you see. Now this sihr, actually is very difficult to deal with. Why? Because some of the black brothers themselves, and I was speaking to a black brother the other, one of my friends was a Nigerian brother, I was speaking to him. A lot of the black brothers, they believe some of these stories, these basically rubbish, that the black man is his libido is generally much higher than any other, the white man or any other people, so they believe these sort of things. So some of the brothers, sadly, they fall into this trap. So when you try to tell them, look brother, okay, this is not normal, man. What do you mean you this and that, and you need no, okay, this is this is good that I've got this extra libido, I've got to get another wife, brother. Okay, you can't even provide for the first wife and you're thinking of a second wife, I said, look, you've just got married. You don't need to be doing this. This is a bit strange, akhi. How come your libido's increased? No, akhi. Don't you know the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? He'll give you some evidence. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam slept with all his wives in one night. I said, yeah. In general, this is true. That people, when you get closer to Allah, that yes, there is some anecdotal evidence that yes, people they get this ability. All right. There's anecdotal evidence of that. Okay, but from the Muslims, from the scholars and that, we know this. But to say that you're on this level now, awliya, one of the awliya of Allah, and that's why, and this is what you've just been a Muslim for 2 years. So it's possible, but I don't think this is the case, brother. You see, so he's not going to check himself for the sihr of divorce because he thinks he's a real man now. So it's difficult to explain that to him. That look, this is not normal, brother. Very difficult. Yeah. So the libido increases too. That's one way of doing it. So to make him look like, so they can turn around to their daughter and say, look, see, this man told you, looking for a second wife, isn't he? What's wrong with him? We told you they're going to be like this. That's how they are. We told you about this, didn't we? But you still wanted to marry him, you see. So and then he will get, and then sometimes what the jinn will do, will make him strong desires to do haram acts with the wife as well, because that's because what's happened there, the jinn, and they're able to do this. They're able to go inside you and do all of these things. Okay, And one of the ways they do these things, make you do certain things in haram and that, is that the jinn from sihr, they have to make you do sins. Even if it's just a small sin. So maybe somebody just keeps looking at haram. He keeps on looking at haram. Small sin. But if you keep looking at haram, it ends up being a major sin. Once they got that on you, and they can do that with the increase your libido, you need to keep looking at porn or something like that. You keep looking at it. You need to do haram. They've got more control of you, so the waswas will increase. The desire. So you're thinking the desire is increasing. I've become more of a man now. That's what the brother's going to be thinking. You see, and then from there, they will end up maybe making you not satisfied with just a normal intimacy with the wife. You start seeking something haram with the wife, maybe during her menses. Okay, just give you crazy desires at that particular time to have intimacy with your wife. The woman's on her menses, haram. Don't go near her. You can go near her, but I mean, there's no intercourse. There's not allowed to do that. It's haram. But it's just too overbearing. It's too much for him. Because he's fallen into sins too much, it's just too much, and he basically will end up forcing his wife to do that at that time, you see. Or what could happen is that he could end up doing maybe from behind, entering his wife from behind, backside basically, anus, intercourse through there. And he does that. Why? Because the jinns have given him so much desire. That's the only way he can feel satisfied. They could end up with the sihr what they've done because of this increased libido. The brothers end up watching porn, and they actually like to masturbating as well, sadly. You see, and in fact, he might even start masturbating over his ex-girlfriend because the desire is too much. The wife is not really because the sihr has been in such a way that he can't get satisfied from his own wife. It's not happening. Halal sex is basically not good enough for him. You see, to a point where he's masturbating over his ex-girlfriends and even thinking of his ex-girlfriends while having intimacy with his wife, and that's the only way he's going to get relief. You see, so that's a very sad situation. You see. Another thing they will do with the sihr, and there's different types of sihr they put. So they put that increase in libido, and that results in all the things I just mentioned. All of those things could happen. Next thing they will do, okay, remember they want to amplify or make or basically any evil traits in the brother already who had from his jahiliyyah or something like that. They just want to amplify those ones, or give him some traits which are stereotypical traits which people put black man down on regarding, you see. So what will happen is that a lot of swearing, cursing and cussing basically, you see. And obviously the family's going to turn and see, look at him, he's cursing us, and he'll probably be angry with the in-laws, because he can tell that they're racist as well. You see, they can tell those in-laws are racist, so he ends up swearing at them and saying things to them, and they'll come back and say, darling, we told you about this man, we told you shouldn't be marrying this man, but you insisted, you see. So this is what you've got now. Look, he's arguing with us, he's calling us this and calling us that, swearing at us, so look what you've become basically, you see. Then you find that the brother will end up maybe because of the anger inside him, and I've felt this anger. It's really difficult to deal with. It's not easy. The brother will end up fighting and arguing over trivial matters, like for instance parking and driving. So driving is like it's something which even the brother probably dreads going out to drive, because the devils will work with each other. So you find that maybe you could be driving, and then because you've got these guardians around you, they'll maybe go into the car behind you or whatever in front of you, give waswas to that driver. You got your jinn, and they work together and try to cause some fitna basically, and then you end up fighting and screaming at people over trivial things, while you're driving, parking issues and things like this. Even when you're in the supermarket, you're arguing over things with you bump your trolley into somebody or whatever. Somebody looks at you in a funny way, you end up fighting with them, you see, and swearing and that. So all of those things, things like that which will affect make you look bad basically. What they're trying to do, make you look like the typical black man. That's what they're trying to do basically. They will hit you with also the sihr to commit zina as well. So you end up, brother's not even satisfied with his own wife anymore, and he's attracted to all the women outside. And what could happen there is that he could end up going back to his girlfriend, ex-girlfriends, and doing something with them. He might even do some sort of funny marriage with them as well, some strange sort of marriage, which is dodgy marriage, and you end up doing something haram with that. I remember one case like that. So the sisters contacting me saying, "Look, what's going on here, Akhi? You know, what's going on here?" And that's the wife, the wife, and the guy's going back to his ex-wife, and and the shaitans used the children as well to lure him in to go see his because he's got to see his children, but he ends up going and doing something with haram with the ex-wife. You see, subhanallah, you know. So Allah save us from all of these things. And when you see these sort of things, never think that you're better than these people. So when I'm dealing with these cases, it's a test even for me, that I don't get upset or angry and I say, alhamdulillah, Allah save me from this stuff. I mean, I could end up doing those things, you know. I could end up doing it. It was only mercy of Allah that I didn't fall into any of these things, you see. SubhanAllah. So you could end up going back to ex-girlfriends, you know. This we've got ex-wives as well, who are non-Muslims, going back to them and doing something haram with them, you see. They can also give you the sihr of the sihr actually to kill your wife. Very extreme, and you get the extreme anger to actually kill your wife. Yeah, so you can check yourself and you find that you got that sihr. I had that sihr. It's terrible, you know. You end up, basically the brothers will end up like an emotional wreck, really, all over the place, you know, very emotional, very angry, you know. It is really you're really in a bad emotional state, really, and nobody really can talk to you and give you advice. So if I came along and tried to tell you, Braki, you know what, I think you've got a sihr of divorce, you know, you'd probably punch me in the face, you know. They will also give you the sihr of make you lazy to the point where you can't keep down the job, you can't even get up and get out of bed and do something, you know. I remember the sihr, I remember having the sihr, it was so bad. I remember my legs, I couldn't move, couldn't get out of bed. It's awful, you know. Yeah, so that sihr really can hit you hard, where you can't even move, you can't get out of your bed. It's so difficult to get out of the bed, you know. And what will happen is that because of that laziness, I don't want to say it's laziness, it's the sihr really doing it. You're not a lazy person, but what's happened is it made you look like that. And what happens is that you can't keep a job like that. When you're like that, you can't keep a job down, really. You can't really keep a job down. So you end up losing a lot of jobs. So what happens to the brothers? They can't keep a job down, basically, because of the sihr, you see, you know. And even if they find a job as well, what happens even if they get a job, they get a lot of waswas, jinns playing with them, and then they end up not accepting. Maybe they offered 1 or 2 jobs, but they won't accept the job. Why? Because the job's not allowing them to wear thobe. So their thobe, can't wear their thobe at work. So I don't want this job. Then I can't work here. I can't wear my thobe. I don't want this job. So they end up not working, not taking some jobs because they couldn't wear a thobe. So things like that will happen, you know. Then the brother will be extreme with regards to racism. Everything is racism, and everybody's racist. You end up becoming like that, you see. And then again, just to make you look crazy, basically mad. So that family who did the sihr, you can go to their daughter. See, didn't we tell you? He's a typical black man. Didn't we tell you this? They always say everybody's racist, isn't it? You know. Racism is real, but not everybody is a racist. You see, not everybody is a racist. You see. So it gets so bad that it's difficult for the wife, to actually deal with the situation. It becomes unbearable for her. And in the end, obviously, the family are checking in, because that's what they do, the SIHRs. They will check in and see what's going on. Ask the daughter what's going on, find out some information about the situation. She's obviously going to tell them, because she wants advice, and she's not doing anything haram there. She's telling them what's going on because she wants to solve the problem. But they're not there to solve the problem. They just want to know. They just want to know what's going on, how bad it is. Okay, and then at the end they'll ask for a separation for their daughter, basically, or go to the Sharia court, or go to an imam or whatever, and they'll ask for that, or ask for their daughter to be separated. You see. And then And then they would just tell you, look, see, we told you not to marry this black man, but you insisted. You're married now, you see. Now, you make sure you don't marry another black man, basically. And they might try to make the brother an example for other people, you see. And that's what happens. That case, and that's how the racists work, isn't it? So they'll just find one bad case, and then they'd say, they're all like that. You see, don't marry black revert brothers, or don't marry black brothers because of especially revert brothers, they'll say, because look what happened in so and so case. You see, So what advice would I give to brothers after talking about those sort of scenarios of what could happen with the SIHR divorce? What do? Well, whenever you have marriage problems, when you get married, when you get these marriage problems, before you go to the marriage counselor, you think, because that's what usually suggested is, first of all, marriage counselor. But before you do that, you need to do Ruqya diagnosis to find out what exactly is going on. That's essential, even if it looks natural, because the best jinn, I won't say that, maybe could say the best jinn, but the worst sahirs and the worst jinn, what they do is they make the problems look natural. That's what they'll do. So everything will look natural, and that's how SIHR is, really. It will look real. And it will feel real. Okay? And so your problems will feel like, no, it's just that, things are not working out. So what's the problem? They can't put the nail on the head. They can't tell you exactly what the problem is. And it just looks like there is, and you can't really tell if there is SIHR there. The only way you're going to find out is by doing the Ruqya diagnosis. That's the only way. That's the only definitive way of doing it, you see. So before you go to any marriage counselor, you need to do Ruqya diagnosis to find out what's going on. You can't just go by the situation, because you can't tell. You can't see these things. You can't see this jinn. You can't see the SIHR. There's only Ruqya diagnosis which is going to show that to you, basically. So what the brothers should do, they should do a Ruqya diagnosis for any spiritual disease, first of all. That's what my advice would be. Okay, so you sit there and you follow my videos regarding Ruqya diagnosis, which are on my YouTube channel. I think 7.1, There's ways to do a Ruqya diagnosis, basically. You can even read my self-diagnostic notes on my website, and it will just show you how to do a Ruqya diagnosis. But in summary, what you need to do is that the person will first of all have to get his reference point. Sit there, relax, wait 2 to 3 minutes, and get their reference point. And what that basically means is just note down how they're feeling before they actually do the Ruqya, so they can make that comparison, because that's the only way you're going to know if you've got something. You see, they'll sit there and they might cover their eyes with a blindfold. Why? Because you actually can see visions sometimes when you do the Ruqya, and sometimes that's the only reaction you get. So you sit there, and then they got their blindfold on, and then they read the Ruqya, and they'll read Ruqya on themselves. And what I suggest you do for that is ask Allah to show you if you got any spiritual affliction in you. Basic. So you read all of Surah Falaq and Nas, meaning you're asking Allah, show us if I've got any spiritual disease. Meaning anything that, what I mean by that is anything that reacts to Ruqya, because that's my new definition of spiritual disease. It's no longer a spiritual disease. It's a disease that is invisible and it's not physical, but it reacts to Ruqya. No, well, what I've seen recently, no, it's not like that. So anything that reacts to Ruqya, even if it's something physical, even if it's something visible, anything that reacts to Ruqya is a spiritual disease. That's it. That's the definition of a spiritual disease. So you're going to read Ruqya, read all of Surah Falaq and Nas, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, show me, when you've set your reference point up and you're ready and you're happy with your reference point, so you note down if you're feeling anything, and then you start reading the Ruqya. If you start shaking, feeling sick, there's a number of reactions you can get. You can check my self-diagnostic notes and see the kind of reactions you can have. If you start feeling something as you're reading that Ruqya, you're reading Surah Falaq and Nas with the intention of Allah, show me if I've got anything that reacts to Ruqya. If you're reading Surah Falaq and Nas, just keep reading Surah Falaq and Nas for 20 minutes. And the reason you're going to use all of Surah Falaq and Nas, because we're asking Allah if there's any spiritual diseases that I'm Ruqya. He's not just focusing on SIHR, and the reason you're going to do that is because we don't know what's really causing your SIHR of divorce. Could it really be SIHR of divorce, or could it be a jinn which is in love with you and is causing this problem? Because as one brother said to me, one American revert, black brother, said to me, said, Saeed, a lot of us, he's talking about the reverts, we've got problems from our past. before we embrace Islam, there are already issues. We've got sihr and stuff like that. Then we become Muslims. So he says it's essential for the reverts to do ruqya diagnosis before they get married or before they do anything, basically. As soon as they become Muslim, check themselves. They need to know these things. And that's coming from a black brother who's, living in the south of America, one of those southern states. I can't remember, was it Louisiana or whatever? Was it South Carolina or something like that? And it got some terrible sihr over there. I mean, the sihr is so bad over there. I remember him telling me, was it him or I'm sure it was him. Even when the police, they're scared of it as well. So when they see a murder or something like that, and the coroner's got to write the report or something like that, they'll write something like, this person died of known unexplained circumstances. And that's the key, that little known unexplained circumstances, that's known for the police. When they see that, they know what that is. So people, that's their code word they use for sihr, and what they call over their roots. So they they back off because they've seen the reality of that. People in the south, the white people even in the south, they've seen the reality of this stuff, you see. So they know it, so they keep away from sihr, basically. They're worried about it, you see. And they call them root doctors, and they go to these people as well for help and that, you see. So when you do, when the brother, you read all of Surah Falaq and Nas, and if you get reactions, then you know that there is something there, you've got some spiritual disease. What it is exactly, you have to isolate it, obviously, but that's the first thing you should do. Just see if you react to anything. One point here which is really important, which a lot of people don't know, okay, is that yawning is not a ruqya reaction. Yawning, so if you start yawning and you feel like yawning and that, it's not a ruqya reaction. Why? Because it's from the shaitan. Hadith is quite clear, it's from the shaitan, and Allah doesn't like him. So if Allah doesn't like it, then how can it be a ruqya reaction? And it's from the shaitan. We've got clear evidence for that. So because I remember I was trying to tell one patient, and I'm trying to do the ruqya on him, and he's yawning, and I said, no, Said, so and so Raqi told me just let it come out. It's the ain coming out. It's the ain coming out. It's not the ain coming out. It's from the shaitan. But we're not going to accept it as a ruqya reaction. The jinn are just trying to play around. You see, so ignore that. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what those Raqis have said. We've got clear evidence that yawning is from the shaitan. We don't need it. It's not a ruqya reaction. So be careful of that. If you want more information on that, I've got a whole section in my article, 101 important ruqya principles. And in there, I think it's point 81, I give you the evidence and explanation of why we don't accept yawning as a ruqya reaction. Okay? Alright? Yeah, so that's important, and that's the only one I know of. I don't know anything else. Anything else, we will accept it as a ruqya reaction. You see. So they do that diagnosis on themselves and see what happens, brothers. Okay? So you got any marital problems, any marriage issues, you're feeling some strange feelings for your wife or whatever, ruqya diagnosis. This is the way to go. This is where we're going to find out if you've got an issue. You see. Then if obviously there's nothing there, then you can go to the marriage counselor. You see. Now, after getting a positive result for that, if you do get a positive result for that, then what you can do another specific ruqya diagnosis to see if there is any spiritual disease that is causing the divorce. So that's the next step you'll do. So you read the diagnosis, all of Surah Falaq and Nas, and see if you get a reaction for, Ya Rabbi, show me if I've got any spiritual disease that is causing the divorce. Okay? And if you get a reaction for that, then you know, there is something there that is causing these divorce problems or these issues I'm having with my wife. Because it could be some hatred that you have in your heart for your wife. You've not really actually seen any problems from her or for you. I mean, the only problem you've got with your wife is that you feel some hatred towards her, and you don't know where that's come from. Well, it could be sihr, this. It could be some sort of jinn inside you causing this problem. So you do the ruqya diagnosis for that, you see, and you see what happens, you see. طيب, okay. Or if you have any of those other problems which we talked about earlier, I'm telling you about the increase in libido and all of those other issues. You become feeling more, anger issues, and you feel like everybody's become a racist or whatever. All of those sort of things, any of those issues I talked about, or those examples I gave you, then obviously you do ruqya diagnosis to help you work out what exactly that is, basically. طيب. What you could do then, if you did react to the specific ruqya diagnosis to see if there is some spiritual disease causing these issues you're having with your wife, or problems you're having, Okay, if you did react to that, then what I suggest you do, then then specifically check for the sihr of divorce. See what you got. What you would do there, again, same sort of process. Get your reference point. Okay, you might have to cover your eyes again because you might see visions, and then you get your reference point. Then you read the Ruqya. You're going to read Surah Falaq. Come to ayah number 4. وَمِن شَرِّ النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ. You read and you keep repeating that ayah with the intention of asking Allah, show me if I've got the sihr of divorce. You know, I mean, when we say this, when we say show, we mean asking Allah to make reactions in your body, because it's only Allah who causes these reactions, not the jinn. It's Allah who causes these reactions. When you sincerely do the Ruqya according to the Sunnah, then it's Allah who's causing these reactions, not the jinn causing these reactions. Yeah, so that's basically that's what basically you need to do, just to check. And like I said, you do that before you seek any help from a counselor. All right, that's what you need to do. And even before you seek any arbitration between the family or whatever, you don't need to do that yet. Do that Ruqya diagnosis, you see. Tayyib. Yeah, just to reiterate that point. Yeah, racism is real. Yes, racism is real. It doesn't mean, you have to understand. When you become Muslim, you don't think like everything is fine and rosy. There's no problems. Everybody loves each other. No. There's racism. We've got evil Muslims. Why is the world the way it is now? Why is the world? Because we've got evil Muslims. It's nothing to do with kuffar. As many Muslims, sadly, they think this. It's the non-Muslims. That's why the world is the way it is. No. It's us. We're not practicing our religion properly, and we're falling into sins. That's why the world is like this. It's all to do with our sins and not following Islam properly. That's all it is. It's quite simple. In fact, it's so simple that many Muslims don't accept this. It's our sins, and that's the difference. You speak to somebody who's got knowledge, scholars, and you tell them, they'll tell you it's because we're not following. That's what happened to when the Tatar came, when they took over the Muslim lands, and because Muslims weren't following Islam properly. That's it. So it's sins. Sins cause all of these problems. It's just like when I tell patients about the when I say that it's sins causing this jinn to speak. It's such a simple explanation. What, you telling me it's all to do with sins? That's why my jinn is speaking and causing all these problems and and chaos and causing me to go into the mental hospital. It's all because of my sins? Yeah, that's right. It's all because of your sins. It's not because I've got multiple jinn inside me. I've got these big jinn inside me. No, nothing to do with that. It's all to do with your sins. That's what's causing these jinns to speak and that. You see. And even if you got a case where the person's thinking, as I had one case, one email recently saying that the sister said, well, I can actually control my jinn. I can stop it speaking when I want it to. I said, no. The very fact that it has the ability to still take over you, if you just relax your body and it can take over and start speaking, I said, that's a problem. There's still the sins there. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. Dave. So sihr is real. Racism is real. Racism is real. And the sihr of divorce is real. These things are real. Yes, not everything is going to, any problem they have is all to do with racism, and not all of the marriage problems you see out there is to do with the sihr of divorce. No, it could be something different. But these are realities. These are realities that we have to understand, and they're there. You see. What the brothers should do, the brothers before they do get married, is that they should be regularly doing their morning evening adhkar. That should be done. Sadly, a lot of brothers, we notice that they don't do their morning evening adhkar. It's not done. Sadly, that would help a lot. Really, that would help a lot. The other thing which would help us a lot as well is taking 7 ajwa dates. Okay, 1 week before the marriage and 1 week into the marriage as well. So before you get married, because the hadith says, if you take 700 ajwa dates in the morning, then this will protect you against sihr and poison. Yeah, meaning what you do, you take those 700 dates in the morning, Fajr time, on an empty stomach, wait about an hour before you have your breakfast, and do this for about 7 days. And then even when you get married, on the day of marriage, definitely take it on the day of marriage, and 7 days after that as well, inshallah, to hope it give you protection. Yeah, and before you accept to marry a sister, so even any of the black brothers, what they're supposed to do, revert brothers, before they accept to marry a sister, or before you even meet the sister, look at her family, look at her future in-laws, look at them first of all. Have a look. Are you happy with those people being your in-laws? And some of that skill you've got, and all black people have this skill. It's a sad skill, but what can we do? It's from Allah. Alhamdulillah, we have to use this skill. Meaning you can work out usually who the racist people are, isn't it? Well, you can use that. Have a look at those people. Have a look at them, talk to them, see how they are, visit them or whatever. See those in-laws. Gauge, and if you see that there is some issues there, my advice is, look, if you're not crazy about that sister in terms of you don't really want to marry her or whatever, you're not really attracted to her, or maybe you're attracted to her, but you're not really settled on her basically, then I'll say, look, go find somebody else, brother. There is a saying in the Arabs, was it Ajar qabl ad-dar, I think it is, the neighbor before the house. So before you go into decide to take a house, and I'm using this in Qatar, because the Qatar, one of the Arab brothers I was working with told me that Arab saying. He said, so what do you look at the area we work in? Look at the area first of all. Neighbors, we look at the neighbors. Ajar, look at the neighbors. Ajar qabl ad-dar. Look at them before you look at the house. So if the neighbors are all right in that, then take the house. Then look at the house, and if the house is good, then khalas, they'll go there. You see, same thing here. Look at the in-laws. Have a quick look. Have a look at the in-laws. Somebody's told you there's a good sister, brother. Is there? Oh, there's a good sister for marriage, and she doesn't mind marrying a black revert, brother. Okay, really good. Oh, that's good news. What about her family? What's her family like? Look at the family. Have a look at the family. Once you do that investigation of the family, find out, hey, the family's quite good, man. Good family. Okay, let me look at the sister now. Tell me more information about the sister. You see, I would say it's better to look at this is my advice. You don't have to follow this, but I think it's, if you want to save yourself from sihr and that, and if you've got that ability to do that, then if you've got the choice, if you are, the choice is there, then I think you should do this. Go for look at the family. If the family is all okay, then look at the sister. Now, since you'll be able to reject this, maybe looking into a sister if you've not seen her. That's possible. But what happens usually, the brothers have already seen the sister and they like her, and they think, yeah, this sister's good for marriage. I'm really attracted to her, and in that situation, it's difficult to say no to the sister, even if you see the family's really bad. So my advice would be to look at the families first of all, before you look at the sister. Once you see the family's all right, say, okay, now what that sister you were telling me about, let me go try and arrange a meeting with her then. Inshallah, I think that would be a better way of doing it. Yeah, and if you're going to go abroad to get married, then you must go through a close friend who's already previously married a sister from abroad, basically. So you want to go to a particular country, try and find connections or brothers in the West or wherever you are who actually married and married a good sister and they've got a good marriage. Okay, go through that brother, go through his wife to find you other sisters to get married to. Don't just go by yourself. That's dangerous to do that, really. Don't go through the websites or whatever. You open yourself up to sihr. Just going over there and just going over to the countries like that. Don't do that. You're going to open yourself up to sihr. Try and get some sort of links. Try to find some brothers. You can find someone, inshallah ta'ala, who's got some connections. You might be through other people. You might have to go through 2 or 3 people basically who know someone. One friend has to speak to another friend who speaks to another friend. Well, that's even all right. Go do that. That's better than going through somebody you absolutely no clue who these people are, and you could get messed up, basically. What we call a passport job. That's all they're marrying you for, a passport, really. So you don't want to put yourself into that sort of situation, you see. Don't do stupid things as well, like this. If you went over to those countries, don't do silly things, where you find a brother 50, 60-year-old marrying some 16-year-old, even if it, control yourselves, basically. That's what I would say here. Brothers have to control themselves, because that's a possible passport job. What's going on here? What is a father, giving his 16-year-old daughter to somebody who maybe is even older than him? That just doesn't make sense. That's dodgy. That's a possible passport job. Can it be genuine? Yes, it might be. Possibly. Rarely. That's rare, isn't it? This doesn't sound right, man. That sounds dodgy. 50, 60-year-old man marrying a 16-year-old. You see? Yes, people are, desperate, but this is not right, man. I mean, I shouldn't say it like that, but you gotta be careful. It's nothing haram, but not normal. It's not right. Unless you're like some doctor, you got a lot of money, you're a big sheikh, you're well known in the community. That's something maybe that's possible. That's something possible. But really, somebody who's really unknown, going over to one of these countries, and then they offer you a 16-year-old. It's not really. It's a bit. It's a bit much. You see. I remember a case like that where a brother did marry something like that. I remember one black brother telling me a case like that. When they phoned the brother, so he's married some very young woman, and he's a very old brother. And then they phoned and said, "How's everything going, brother?" "I'm in paradise," he says. SubhanAllah. Yes, you are going to be in paradise for a few days or a few weeks, but I don't know what might happen to you afterwards. You might get hit by sihr. You see, because it's unusual for something like that. So sometimes you've got to use your brains basically here. You've got to use your brains. Just like, for instance, the other case where I remember hearing about is that if you end up marrying the best looking woman in the village, so you come over there with your British passport, American passport, Australian passport, Canadian passport, New Zealand passport, you're going over there, French passport, even any European sort of country passports, okay? And you go into one of these countries, Muslim countries, and they offer you the best looking woman in the village. Okay, all you've got is a simple job back you're back home, and you've got your passport, and that's the thing they want. So you end up marrying the best looking woman in the village. That's a bit strange. You have to ask yourself. I remember one brother telling me this, one Jamaican brother telling me this story, where he knew one brother, and he says to me, the Jamaican brother says this to me. He says, "I know my people. Some of us are very good looking." Okay, and this is the brother saying, it's not my speech, okay? This is not my speech. He said, "Some of us are very good looking, handsome. And some of us are very ugly," he says. He said, this particular brother is very ugly. But they gave him the best looking woman in the village. And everybody wanted her. All the men wanted her. And you got her? That's a bit strange. That's not normal. Possible passport job. You see, that's a possible passport job, And what the brothers can't believe is that women will actually marry you and have your children all for the passport. Yes, it's true. They do these things. Difficult for some brothers to believe, but they do these things. We've seen it. Countless cases. They go to a particular country and it's a passport job. Right from the beginning you can tell. But sometimes when the brothers have seen the sister, they can't say no because they've seen the sister. You have to remember, these people are preparing for this. You're like the king coming over. So they make sure they look good. You see. And then they make sure they attract you. You see. And people just can't believe that she will have children with you as well. Yes, she will have children with you as well. Sadly, they will do this. They'll have children with you as well. Unbelievable. They will have children with you. And then afterwards, what will happen is that they use sihr, passport job, sihr, and then they have 1 or 2 kids with you. You come over to the UK, whatever it is, the cases we know, come over to the UK, your flat, they'll take your flat, kick you out, and just say that you're abusing them and stuff like that. Just say something, And that's it. You get kicked out of the house, you lose your house, and then what it is, you have to go somewhere else. You got 2 kids in it, you can't see your kids no more. She's taken your house, she's got her passport as well, and things change overnight. As one brother told me, I remember a case saying to me, everything's fine and dandy. As soon as the papers come through and she's got her passport, complete change. So they can keep the act up for some time. Some of these women, they can keep the act up for some time, and then when they get that passport, it all changes. Becomes somebody completely different, and you'll be shocked. You see, and next thing, you've been kicked out of your house. You've got no access to your children. You have to sort of pay this maintenance, and you're in trouble basically. Yeah, subhanallah. So really, brothers have to be very careful about passport jobs. These things are real. Dave, if you need more information, what you can do, you can email me. You want to talk about this anymore? Or if you want to speak to me, you can actually book a Google Meet appointment with me via my website if you want to speak to me, inshallah ta'ala. طيب سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.